be patients though, you give them a couple of red cells and they're fine. So it really depends on the patient. And again, we're not clinicians, so we don't know what's going on. So whatever you ask for, that's what we're gonna try and get to you as fast as possible. This is the emergency release form, and the top part does have a box that says uncross-matched red cells. That's if you just call. If you use the MTP, it's kind of built in as an automatic. You don't need to sign emergency release. But we will ask for a signature within 24 hours. We won't ask for a signature immediately. We know you're usually busy. If you're calling for an emergency release, there's usually something going on. But we do ask for a signature within that 24 hours. Coolers in the OR, this is something the lab asked me to bring up. We do use little temperature indicators. You can see those little indicators on there. When it turns blue, that means it's out of temperature. So if you take a unit of blood and put it in the OR room, and then put it back in the refrigerator, that blue indicator stays blue, so we know that it was out of temperature, and we will have to discard it. So we've looked at that really quite a bit, and it's really regulatory requirements that we have to track all units at all times, no matter where they are, and ensure that the temperature of red cells are appropriate. So we always have to store them within 10 degrees Celsius. Transport within 10 degrees Celsius and store with 1 to 6. So it's a lot of extra nightmares that we deal with, just trying to make sure we're not outdating blood just because of temperature, and that we're storing them appropriately. Platelets in cryo, we often get them, especially on an MTP, if we send everything up in a cooler, they throw the platelets in the cooler, and then we have to throw those away. So we do put them in bags usually that say room temperature and try to give people a heads up, but sometimes in the heat of the moment, everything gets thrown all together. Same-day surgery specimens, I just wanted to bring up that you guys see a lot of patients that come through same-day surgery. There is the ability to use what is called an extended cross-match. If the patient has not been transfused or pregnant in the past 3 months, we can get them to answer those questions and extend the cross-match for 14 days from the date of the specimen draw. So that sometimes helps, instead of having a patient show up on the same day surgery, find out that they have an antibody, take us an hour or two to work it up. If we have a sample pre-op, we can go ahead and do that and make sure we have antigen negative blood available.
I have a question on that.
Sure.
We've got an issue, frequently where this exact same scenario comes up. We've got a full slate of C-section scheduled. The 9 o'clock case shows up a little bit late and get the blood down, and you
There's
can't
an
get the
extra.
type of screen. So what would be the earliest they can come in?
3 days.
3 days.
3 days, yeah, if they're pregnant, 3 days.
So they could come in 3 days ahead of time.
Right, so they could come in Friday and have surgery on Monday.
Okay. So, all right, because I'm gonna try and,
Yeah, it's not the time that it's drawn, it's midnight of the 3rd day.
okay.
So if they come in Friday, we can still do it on Monday.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. That's the normal out date is 3 days. But with the extended cross match, it's 14. But if they're C-sections, clearly they're pregnant. So yeah, we have to follow the 3 day order. Pre-op type screens, again, we try and get the patients to be registered in the outpatient lab. The big issue we have right now is that each advocate site has a different medical record number for patients, whereas if we go to Epic, when we hit Epic, we'll have one medical record no matter where. So we'll be able to draw samples at more places. But right now, because we have to associate that medical record number with the transfusion, we have to register them and make sure that they have that medical record number throughout their whole outpatient visit as well as when they come inpatient. So that's the thing that we're struggling with right now. Again, once we go to Epic, and no matter where they are, then they can be drawn anywhere. So if they happen to live in Oak Lawn but be coming here for surgery, they could draw their samples in Oak Lawn. We could test them there and have them in the same computer system because it'll be one medical record number. So that's something that we continue to try to look at. Again, we don't want to have these people drive all over the universe if they don't have to. And again, it helps us get those units ahead of time and have compatible blood sitting there when we know what antibody they have. When they have a positive antibody screen, we usually set up 2 units automatically just to make sure we have blood in case there is a problem, even if they only order a titer screen. But we do try to keep an extra 2 when there's an antibody. Electronic cross-match, this is something that because we get 2 types, and now it's required no matter what type of product we're giving. We get 2 separate samples to do a confirmatory on the blood type. We use electronic cross-match. So if the antibody screen is negative, we don't set units up until you actually call for them. And then we just have a computer actually do the cross-match and print out the paperwork. So when you call for blood, as long as the antibody screen is negative, we can usually have it ready for you in about 5 minutes. So just a heads up on that. This is just some references and resources. There's a great website, and you can download great podcasts from the Blood Bank Guy. The other sites are the ABB, and there's a updated circular of information, which is the FDA, and as well as multiple other organizations put together a nice little pamphlet with all the different components and the different uses. But the Blood Bank Guy I definitely recommend. He has all kinds of different lectures, and they do have some that have CME credit if people are looking for CME credit. And all you have to do is listen to the podcast and answer a couple questions online. But it's very interesting, some of the things that they talk about, and go into a lot of detail and have great interviews. So I highly recommend it. So again, just a summary is really the component overview and what our MTP versus our emergency release. Storage of blood up in the OR, just make sure that we keep it in the temperature that it's supposed to be at, and pre-transfusion testing and our cross-match. Any other questions?
3 quick ones. I heard we were getting coolers to keep in the room so that we can just put the units in there and like during massive transfusions and things like that.
Yeah, I know that they have coolers right now.
And if we don't use it, it can be sent back.
Right. I know that there are currently coolers in the ED with that they rotate every 8 hours or something, so that if there is an MTP, they can throw stuff in there. We tend to tube it down to them, but at least they have a cooler to move with the units with the patient.
Yeah.
I don't know how far they are on getting coolers in the OR itself. I'll check with Nicole, who's the supervisor here.
Okay.
But I know that's something that we've talked about for specific cases, repeat open hearts and that kind of thing, where you're not quite sure what's going on and you need blood right away, that might be an option. So I'll check with her and see where they're at on it.
If we want whole blood, is that something we can order?
Currently, no.
Okay.
Because we don't really have
Do you
that.
see it on the horizon or not?
Like I said, we're working with our blood supplier to try and see if we can get the low titer O's available. Routinely, we don't store whole blood just because we don't know what blood type we're going to need. So getting type-specific whole blood is very difficult. And again, the blood suppliers don't supply it. They
Okay.
always split it into components.
And lastly, you need 2 tubes to get a cross match, correct?
We need a original type and screen, and then we need a double check on the blood type. There's a requirement from the ABB that we have a confirmatory, and it's really just to make sure that the blood type is correct on the first sample.
And are they supposed to be like 5 minutes apart or something like
They're
that?
supposed to either be 2 different, officially they're supposed to be 2 different draws. So either 2 different people at the same time, or 1 person drawing and then doing a second IP. It's really to identify the patient twice to make sure that that identification is really occurring. As we go to Epic, it's something that we're looking forward to. If we use an electronic labeling system, we will not need the second sample. So if we have a way to mitigate the identification process in the specimen labeling and have actual electronic verification of that label and that patient ID on the specimen, then we can get rid of it. So that's something as we move towards Epic, they have what is called Rover. It's a bedside barcode system that will do the label verification, and that's definitely something that we are looking forward to so that we don't need that second sample.
Great.
So when you have a transfusion reaction,
Mm-hmm.
let's say there's like maybe an antibody or whatever, the first reaction you're going to see is what?
It's usually
like a little spike in temperature, right? And
it's
maybe
possible a little
blood
spike in
pressure.
temperature.
And then I usually would give Benadryl or something and then
Well,
continue to transfuse.
Yeah, I mean, if it's
So-
a minor, again, I think you shouldn't see too many allergic reactions, as all our products are lipo-reduced now. Whereas before lipo
But it's not
reduction.
really an allergic reaction,
Yeah.
right? It's just like a sensitivity maybe to something, I don't know.
Yeah,
But-
there's a lot of controversy on both sides. I mean, some people are like, well, we spend a lot of time working up things that are nothing. And we always in the blood bank say, well, we would rather work it up and make sure that it's nothing than just kind of move along.
Right.
So I think it depends
But when
on.
you're transfusing blood and you see like a little low blood pressure, you see the patient's getting maybe a little itchy or maybe febrile or, you know, then my reaction would be to give Benadryl,
Mhm.
right? I mean, don't they do that on the floor in
Yeah,
oncology?
they do.
They prep patients with Benadryl and then they continue to give the blood products.
And we really are trying to discourage pre-medicating patients. There's a lot of studies out there that patients who have had one reaction doesn't mean that they will have more reactions. And again, we're using leukoreduced products, so that white cell and cytokine reaction should not be
Because that's what
occurring.
that's causing the,
That's usually what we've had in the past due to the allergic reactions. There are plasma proteins in multiple products, so there are things in plasma that can cause kind of little allergic type reactions. And that's the majority of what they see. Our issue is that, you know, if you just blow past all of them and just say, oh, it's just another allergic reaction and let it, instead of letting us work it out, you don't really know for
so
sure.
what are you supposed to do? Always just stop the product and then get a different one, or?
Yeah, in our eyes, in the blood bank eyes, we would rather you stop the product and have us investigate and do a workup and double check the blood type and double check that the clerical check. I mean, the first thing I would do would be a clerical check. I would look at the unit and make sure that that's the unit for that patient. That would
Okay,
be my number one thing to do.
okay,
In case somebody grabbed the wrong unit and
Okay.
it for the wrong patient.
and then you stop it, and then.
Stop it, and then I
because-
would see what was going on with the patient, and see if they're tolerating things after running some saline. But again, if their symptoms continue to progress without adding any medication, I would stop the transfusion and call it.
Right, but, so when we're in the operating room though, and we're giving those products,
Mhm.
we're giving it because we need it.
Right.
Like, so we don't
Because
really
it's
have time to investigate.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
I would just say,
yours
okay,
is
there's-
probably a little different than the floors are.
Right, so I would
So-
stop the product, get a new product and start doing it, and then just write a QA, I guess, but,
Yeah, I mean, I would notify the blood bank that this unit was causing problems.
Send that unit back.
Send that unit back and send samples so that we can double check that there's not an antibody after the fact.
but it's spiked, so how are you gonna
That's
send
fine.
it?
Um,
How are you gonna
Well,
send it back? It's gonna be
yeah,
open
usually they
now.
set-
Get a
usually
clamp from the OR.
Usually they send from the floors, they send the whole infusion set and everything, whereas you guys cannot. So you guys are a little bit unique. There are caps that we can get.
Right,
that we
I mean,
have.
I guess we could put the spike on for peds, I use a spike sometimes, I guess I could stick that in, but
Yeah,
I'm just
so it's kinda unique to
wondering,
you
like, for
guys.
me, I'm just, you know,
Right.
the clinical aspect of all this, like, I'm seeing some